Welcome to Public Forum, a community outreach program produced at North Idaho College on the shores of Lake Coeur d'Alene. Featuring guests from around the globe, addressing a wide variety of subjects, Public Forum serves to educate and enlighten. Please join host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart, in welcoming today's guest.
We're pleased to bring you a two-week series on a subject we've never done before, and it's very, very important. It's titled The Use of Modern Technology to Revolutionize College Teaching. We have four very distinguished guests, three on our faculty at North Idaho College, and the fourth one is on the staff, an expert in technology, and we're delighted to have all four of them here today and again next week to talk about this important subject, and we hope you will acquire some information that could be helpful to you who are in education and dealing with teaching. First of all, welcome to the program Terry Jones, a very good friend and outstanding in the field of music, and he is a faculty member in our Department of Music. Terry, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tony. Good afternoon.
I'm also very pleased to have Steve Smith, who's next to him, and Steve serves as North Idaho College's User Services Manager. And Steve, I know you help all these faculty, and we appreciate the knowledge that you'll bring today.
Thank you.
And I'm also very pleased to welcome to the program Kathy O'Brien. She is a faculty member in the Business and Office Technology Department, and she too has some great stories about technology. And my fourth guest is Peter Zao, who is in the Department of Biology and is really revolutionized the teaching method, and I've heard a lot of great things about all of you, and welcome to the program.
Pleased to be here.
I think that I'll start today's program with some information I got from a website, and I hope all of it's accurate. It's mind-boggling, and I think that sets the stage for talking about the revolutions going on in the world in knowledge, and this is from www.criticalthinking.org, and I'm going to read those as they come up on the screen, and it shows you where we're headed and how that affects teaching. The first point is that 1 out of every 8 present U.S. couples met online, according to this website. Number 2, each month there are 2.7 billion searches on Google. 3, there are 3,000 books published daily in the world. And that one really got me. And number 4 is technical information doubles every 2 years. Number 5, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, 1 out of every 4 U.S. workers have been at their present job less than 1 year, and 1 out of 2 U.S. workers have been at their present job less than 5 years. Number 6, the daily text message exceeds the world's population. Number 7, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, today's learners will have between 10 to 14 jobs at age 38. No wonder teachers have a challenging role ahead. And last, number 8, the top 10 jobs in demand in the year 2010 did not exist in 2004. So I think you can see from this why that we had to change in our teaching methods. First of all, Peter, let me start with you, and again, welcome to the program. Please share with us some of your ideas, and a little later in the program we're going to show some actual things that you do with technology, but why is this necessary, and why is this change so important for faculty and students to work in this way?
Well, we have a diverse student population with a lot of students returning from the workforce to school to change careers. That brings with them several different types of problems: family, work-related issues, and time, the time to go to school. One of the thrusts in our division has been to supply the student population with internet courses. We have been successful with Biology 100 for about 12 years now. It's been a long time ongoing process. It's been quite successful for us. And I've been asked to do anatomy and physiology almost since the beginning. However, I've been resistant to do so because of the rigors of anatomy and physiology. Right. Technology has improved to the point where I can actually use this computer, which is a nice flat piece of hardware, with a pen that is built into the thing, and actually write my notes directly on the screen. The students then see that projected on a projection device in the classroom, and it also records it for purpose of display on the internet. Once this technology progressed to the current level, I was confident that I could make a internet class be successful for anatomy and physiology, and it has exceeded all my wildest expectations. In fact, my internet students do as well or better than my on-campus students do.
The fact that it records it all, that's notes given to them. That's like taking notes without having to actually write them down.
It truly is so. And now the students have the opportunity of learning several different ways. The student can come to class and learn in the traditional way where they take their own notes, or they can print off a series of my notes from a prior section and just add annotations into the existing notes, or they can wait until I post the materials online and simply listen during class time. And I have students do all three of those methods to great success.
It's just great options for them.
Indeed.
You can meet their learning style.
Indeed.
Kathy, you too have been so willing to get involved in this process. How, in your field of business and office technology, have you found the changes helpful to the students?
Well, I agree with Peter. With the increase in technologies that we have, it becomes more and more important to offer not only using technology in the classroom, but offering those technologies for students to learn. And I also have a tablet PC like Peter, but we also have a smart board in our classrooms and many of the classrooms on campus. And the technology is very similar. You can record things on the smart board that can then be saved to a file that can be posted online. Notes can be saved. They can be translated to text. We also use technology to address different learning styles. We have software packages that students can supplement their learning, whether it be online or in the classroom, and they can use, whether you're a visual learner, auditory learner, or a hands-on. We have all and some blend of those. And so, like Peter, many of my students will use different software packages to supplement their learning if they're a visual, an auditory, or a hands-on type of learner. So I see technology as an absolutely essential tool for a teacher in the classroom.
We all have this weakness. We assume people know what we're talking about because we're so used to it. Explain a little bit more of what a smart board is.
A smart board is looks like a whiteboard. In the olden days, it would be a chalkboard.
Right.
But it looks like a whiteboard, but it's an electronic whiteboard. So when you write on the whiteboard, it can translate your writing into text, or it can just keep it as the written word. And it actually acts as almost like a computer monitor. A large whiteboard that would be a computer monitor accepts that information, and just like any sort of information you might input into a computer via the keyboard, it would be able to save that information and be able to use it online.
And you have control. It can be in those different formats. It
can be in whatever format you choose. You can do drawings, for example, if you want to illustrate something that would be more appropriate by drawing a point. You can use text. You can use arrows and lines. And those of us teachers, we like to draw on the board and point to things, and you can then take that, print it, or save it as a file, and students have access to it later to remind themselves what happened, or if they missed a class, to get it from you.
That's amazing. And Terry Jones, you're in the music department. By the way, I want to say you have this remarkable talent with your groups, and your concepts are wonderful, but you have also found ways to use this kind of technology.
Well, similar to what Peter was mentioning about online classes, I've taught an online class before there was online. And with the improvements in the technology online, it's made it a lot easier for a variety of students to take courses. Last summer, I taught several sections of a class, and I was at 10 different states of students taking the online class.
So you had students in 10 different states in this one course.
Right, and I think because of the technology and things like discussion boards and chat rooms and whatnot, they have a better experience than in before. If they would have had those students in those places, they would have just been left kind of pretty much to an independent study. So that's really improved. But just from a personal standpoint, having taught a lot of music appreciation courses and carried stacks and stacks of CDs and before that tapes and records with me, it's so nice to be able to bring my laptop into class and know that not only do I have the music that's necessary for that particular class, but if a student asks about something else, I don't have to run down the hallway and get it. I can just, file through my MP3 files and then play those examples for them. So it's a lot of more flexible in class, and it's saved probably my back quite a bit of hauling around CDs.
Well, it's so efficient, and in the end, you can be so much more compact. But also, I hear you saying from the fact you have students in 10 states, you can deliver teaching to a larger geographical area and people at a much reduced expense than if you were having to have 10 separate classes for each of those states.
Well, and I think this is true with a lot of our online classes. We have a lot of students who are from this area but maybe attending school someplace else. Well, if you're paying out-of-state tuition for classes someplace else, why not pick up a class or two over the summer or The other thing I've seen recently, this fall I have a few of my students who are in the construction field, and so they really can't take regular classes in the early part of the fall because they're still working, and they're just jumping in aboard now. And because of the technology and the way I've structured my class, it's a flexible schedule. So I have students who will want to get it done. I also get nursing students who will try to finish the class in the first month, so because they know that their nursing requirements are going to, slant up on as we get towards the end of the semester. So it allows for a lot more flexibility.
That's the key word, flexibility. Steve, you work with all the faculty and others. I wish you'd take a little time to explain a couple of things. Our guests have been talking about the internet and of course on the internet, but we also have other forms of distance learning, and I've started out with compressed video. Now you can use the computers. Share both of these with us. We have a lot of internet classes. We also have distance learning to the more rural areas. Of course, students don't have to come down here, and especially bad weather. Just take us through some of those that are available, not only at this institution, but across the country they're doing this.
Sure. The technology you're speaking of is IVC, and which has, over the last several years, gone from a ISDN-based model to an IP model, which means it basically runs over the same type of circuit as the internet, but it allows us to, at this institution, to have instructors wherever they may be, wherever we may need to find them, either at our local site here or the remote sites, of which we have a half a dozen different ones or so, and then have students in either site and have a fully interactive environment for them where they have the ability to not only just see the instructor, but to interact with them, ask questions, submit
so you have
information.
the visual there. I
Yes.
teach one of those classes, and I work on the base from here, but then I'll have students oftentimes in Kellogg, Idaho, and St. Mary's, Idaho, or Bonners Ferry, wherever. But there's large screens, and they can see one another, and they can interchange with them.
Correct. They not only have the ability to interact with the instructor, but with each other, the sets of students in each site. And as is been explained with the other instructors, on the panel here, what that does is allow two different things. One, it allows us to present information in a better way, in a new way, such as the way that Peter and Kathy and Terry have described it, but it also allows the institution to reach more students, which is always a goal of ours, especially in those remote areas.
So a lot of them are working full-time, and then they'll take those classes at 4, at 6, or 7, and so they can work all day and then come to that site in that particular town, or they can do it on internet in the middle of the night or whenever they want.
Exactly.
So you're reaching more people with more choice.
Yeah, technology allows us to have a broader reach, not only in our local community here, but in North Idaho. We get to cover a large geographic area in that way.
And people can also get their associate degree from here, or we're getting close to that, where they would be able to be some distance away and get all the courses they needed over 3 or 4 years.
Exactly.
Peter, I always believe in visuals on this program, and you've all been very articulate in dealing with an introduction to this, but I know a lot of our viewers would like to see some illustrations of what you do, and you were very kind, as Kathy was too, to give us some information in advance. But I'm going to ask you at this point, as our wonderful staff puts up on the screen some things to explain this, so particularly educators out there can see how you do this.
Of course.
And they'll go up with that now, and if you'll just follow it on the screen.
Okay, this is what a user would see, what a student would see when they come to the Anatomy and Physiology website. As you can see, there's a lot of information here. On the far right-hand side of the screen would be the conversations that are taking place among the students and the instructors. There are 2 lecture instructors and currently 3 lab instructors, and everyone communicates. What you really can't see in the upper right-hand corner of the image is the counter that keeps track of the numbers of visitors. Over the last 2 years, there have been over 67,000 visits to the A&P website. So a truly remarkably used site.
Well, to interrupt, you could even have people not in the class visiting it, which they are, aren't they?
We could, yeah. In the center part of the screen are news articles, and those are what the instructors would write for the particular audience. We've got two different types, actually three different types of students. We've got students in first semester 227, the second semester 227, and also our human cadaver prosection class. When a student signs into the site, then the site knows who they are, and the articles that are displayed are unique to them. The way the students would use this is pretty much at whatever time of the day or night they like. It's actually a very well utilized system.
Because it's also individualized to each student.
To each individual student, yes. We call it it's a portal system, and this is surprisingly enough, this is free software that I found on the internet. Put it on my website, and away we go with the discussion forums and news articles and.
That's really amazing. We have the next one now, and you'll explain what's going on here.
This one is a little bit of a higher magnification of the central area, where the daily news would be on the left-hand side and the communications be on the right-hand side. We can't read them, but there are, looks like 2, 4, 5 of them listed among several hundred. There are, the portal system actually preserves the communications from one semester to the next. So what a student can do, if they have a question on, say, for example, epithelium, they could put that as a search term in, and then the system would search for the word epithelium in any post that anyone has ever made over the since the inception of the system. And that, again, gives you instant information, instant feedback for what the students currently
So this data will just continue to get more and more
rich with every passing semester.
It's kind of like those numbers that I put up at the beginning. The bank of data is just growing and growing.
It grows and grows. It does.
Yes. And we have another one now.
Well, unfortunately, we can't read what it.
But the student can, because they're close to the screen and they can magnify.
They're really close.
Yeah.
The first, probably the top half of the screen, is a student whose name is listed on the upper left-hand side. It also indicates what part of the course they belong to, Biology 227 or 228 or the prosection class. And on the right-hand side is the question. And I actually remember this question because it just recently occurred. This is a second semester student that posed the question, and a first semester student answered, and her response is immediately below. And I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but she says, "Wow, I didn't understand a word of what you just said, but I'm looking forward to it in 228. And then the bottom part of the screen is my response to the first student's question. So we really get a lively interaction
but some
online.
Students are teaching other students too.
Yes,
they become
yes,
teachers.
Indeed. In fact, I strongly recommend to all the students to post whatever question they like. Someone will answer it, either myself, one of the other instructors, or another student. And 9 times out of 10, by the time I sign back in, and I check multiple times a day, when I sign back in, a question has already been responded to by someone else in the class.
There's a lot of time commitment on your part. But you're one of those master teachers like the others here. You're so dedicated. I've said a lot of things about you when you didn't know about how incredible instructor you are. Now we're going to number 4.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I record all of my lectures. I record the audio and all of my pen strokes on the tablet PC. And what I do is something called podcasting. I prepare the media on my tablet PC, and then I put it on the internet. Then a student, this is an example of the software the student can download for free, and the student can actually subscribe to the podcasted lecture materials for whichever section they like. Then when their computer, they can actually be sleeping at night while their computer downloads automatically the lecture content for the class and displays it in the software that you see here. In the bottom right-hand side, you can see the dark part of the screen, and there's a little play button below. It looks a little bit like a Windows Media Player. When they click play and they choose one of the lectures up above, when they click play, then it actually plays the audio and video recording of the class.
Audio and video.
Yes, indeed. And in fact, the students, the experience that the student tells me that they receive via this method is almost like being in class. The only thing that they don't see is me. They hear all of the talk that goes on. They see all of the presentation materials. And in fact, some of the students say that they couldn't pass the class without these additional materials.
It just makes a tremendous difference.
Yes. One of the nice things is that they can go over the notes, and as many times as they like pause and then make annotations in the written notes.
One that came up, you have that here with you. You can identify
I do.
Go ahead with it.
This is it's a clicker. It's a little device. What you can see on the screen here, it looks like a television remote control. And it is, in essence, that. It's a little infrared transmitter. And what we have with the on-campus class is a receiver for this transmitter that will record what the student chooses. And what I do periodically during the course of a class is ask a question, and then the students, their clicker is what they would use to respond with. So it's a great way to get a little bit of interactivity between the students among themselves, and the buzz is always really great when we start the clicker questions in class. In fact, the next image shows what the student would see. This is the top part of the image shows the question on the left-hand side and the 4 possible responses on the right-hand side, numbered 1 through 4 from top to the bottom. The blue part at the bottom shows the individual's name, last name, so that when they read the question and they make the response by clicking the button on the clicker, their name will light up in color, indicating that the system has accepted their response.
So it's like a multiple choice?
It's a multiple choice.
But they can't change it once they dial in?
Well, they actually can change it one time. Built into the system, if you press the one answer and then you decide that you don't like that one, that you pressed it in error, then you can choose one more time.
I recently gave a multiple choice part of a test, and an essay part, and one student with a great sense of humor didn't know the answer to the multiple choice and wrote me a note and said, "Can I call my lifeline?" So I assume you don't have lifelines for them.
Not yet, no.
That would be fascinating. Thank you, Peter. That was fascinating. Kathy, again, we're going to show your visuals on the next show, but would you explain a couple of examples of how your students have benefited so much